The beautiful campus of University of Maryland, College Park. The place where we learn and grow, teach, join, and interact. Where we sit and stamp and read a book, form study groups in Nimburu, play frisbee on the mall, cram for finals in McKeldin, and simply live our lives. But more than that, this campus is our home away from home. The prestige of this proud state school of Maryland would be nothing without the beauty of our academic halls, residence halls, buildings, and natural features. Take a second and imagine our home if no one cleaned it. No one cut the grass, shoveled snow, scrubbed toilets, made us food, picked up after our messes, or simply took out the trash. Just imagine. If no one did these things, these menial tasks that we never think about, our home wouldn't run. But the cost at which this university maintains its beauty is shocking and appalling. The amazing people who clean up every day for all of us have suffered years of sexual abuse, racial and language discrimination, and brutal retaliation from their supervisors. This campus, our home, has an extensive history of abuse, and how much did you know about it? In the spring of 2010, a movement began led by the Black Faculty and Staff Association to end these horrendous actions. It started with the writing of a 56-page report on numerous accounts of the abuse that happens on our campus. The hatred, cruelty, physical and mental abuse that our campus workers continue to suffer, yet bravely share, is astonishing. Under the Black Faculty Staff and Association, the Justice at Maryland Coalition was started to support and fight for our workers. The coalition is comprised of students, alumni, workers, and community members who have been working to make others aware of the injustices while supporting all workers. The administration has collectively ignored these issues and has not ensured the basic human need of respect and safety be carried out. Those involved in this movement understand the urgent need to both address and take action against the systematic abuse in our home. Now hear from supporters and workers who use their voice to fight for humanity. Hi, my name is Cece Reed. I'm a student at the University of Maryland College Park, and I'm representing the Justice at Maryland Coalition and Your World News. Along with other workers, staff, and students, I'm fighting against the abuse of campus workers here right on our campus because for the basic reason that I'm a human being. And no human being should have to suffer through racial, sexual, and other types of discrimination, especially workers that make our campus beautiful and make our campus a place that people want to come to. And the fact that this campus preaches diversity so much, yet the workers who keep the backbone of our university growing and strong are treated with such disrespect and lack of humanity just really disgusts me, and I think it's my responsibility as a student with the power and influence that I have to be a voice for them because they don't have a voice, because the administration doesn't support them and doesn't allow them to adequately go against the way that they've been treated. And I think all students should use their responsibility to inform others, because ultimately it's our tuition that's helped paying for discrimination, for racism, for sexual abuse, and for the violation of human rights. And I personally don't want my tuition to pay for that. So I think you have to ask yourself, do you want your tuition to pay for that? So now we're going to hear from workers, activists, students, and staff members on this campus who, like me, are fighting against this crucial movement.
My name is Craig Newman. I've been affiliated with the University of Maryland for 41 years as a worker here, working grounds, and I've been in the union for 40 of those 41 years. I'm currently the secretary of the local.
And can you tell me what types of abuses have you witnessed yourself or heard stories about from other workers on the campus?
The racism, the sexism is still rampant. it's a little bit undercover at this stage. In the initial years of my working here, the Klan, Ku Klux Klan, used to put up advertising flyers in facilities management. We had that stopped. There was a year after that where prior to Coretta Scott King speaking on campus, they arrested a student at University College who was taking courses on this campus, because that's where the courses are, who was building bombs to bomb her when she spoke. Fortunately, they got to him before he could do anything. The kind of sexism that is on campus is quite openly quid pro quo. You want this job, you will sleep with me. Now, that doesn't always happen, but the force is exerted, the influence is exerted from the boss to the woman. And the problem with that, other than what it sounds, the problem is right on the surface, is that the administration always demands proof, absolute proof, eyewitnesses, written statements, something like that. And that's not something you're going to get. When that has occurred, they've let the men who do this off. They've let them resign rather than fire them. So they can go on to another job, another location, and do the same thing. In one case that we lost for a housekeeper, after we lost it, the boss came back to her and he says, I did this to you. I did this, my last job. I did it to you, and I don't care what you do. I'm going to do it at my next job. And that kind of blunt honesty is what we're dealing with here. The man is accurate. That's how these hunters go about seeking out their prey, from job to job to job. And if they're allowed to resign, they're not carrying any stigma with them. We want them prosecuted. We want them fired for something like this. It's the only way to stop it.
To the students and staff and community members that don't think this issue affects them, why is this issue important to everyone in this community?
It's important because most of the staff that work here, and I'm not talking about faculty, and I'm not talking about management higher level, but most of the other staff is invisible. We're taken for granted. The work gets done, that's all people care about. And the world isn't that way. The world is an interconnected orb. And we have to care about each other, because if we don't care about each other, we're all going down. Plain and simple. And so they're students now, but they're going to grow up, they're probably going to have families. They want their children to come to a university where they can get an education that's real, not just technical, not just professional, not just to make the most money. If you want to make the most money, you can become a bank robber or a stock, inside trader. No, most people want to do good. And we, the invisible workforce, are part of that doing good. We're not invisible. We deserve respect in a variety of ways. I'm starting to get angry. Sorry.
Can you tell us your name and what you do at the University of Maryland?
My name is Angela Machado, and I'm working here at the University for housekeeper, 11 years.
Okay, and can you tell us what do you see as some of the issues are in terms of workers and workplace abuse that has been levied on some of the more vulnerable workers, such as housekeepers and janitorial staff?
Yeah, they have so many problems around this campus for the people that work in the housekeepers. The majority for the people that work in the housekeeper, they are the Spanish people. They got all the immigrants from the other country, because it's not only Spanish. And they have so many problems with the management. They are talking about the discrimination, they're talking about harassment, they're talking about they have a favoritism for some employees, the other employees don't have any favoritism with them. They're not appreciating the job, and they try to make it and push you to do it more than what you're supposed to be doing, and they're not thinking, they're not looking about it, how you work and how your job, what did you do it, is it all right or not on the way, what are you doing? The problem what they do is you have to do the job and they don't care about it nothing. So that is why we are here to try to fight, or we not try, we fight for let them know they have to look a little more for us, and they have to looking exactly how we're working, and they have to looking how they supposed to treat me to the housekeepers for we can have a better service on campus, not only to the employees, and also with all the co-workers, because they also try to make the co-workers they have no many problems on campus. They don't like to be good treatment at all with nothing.
Thank you.
Nos mandan a hacer rotaciones, dicen ellos, a diferentes edificios, y nos mandan un día, el siguiente día, y cuando uno reclama, la señora me tiró, llegó dos veces que ella me tiró las llaves, me tiraba las llaves y me decía, I don't care, tú ve a limpiar.
So they rotate us into different buildings every day, and on two occasions my team leader threw her keys at me and told me that she didn't care, and just told me to pick them up.
Todo esto a mí me tiene enferma, yo hasta la presión alta tengo por todo esto que he pasado. Pasé 7 meses viviendo de esa forma en esos vídeos. 7 meses que una persecución todos los días, diferente cambio, diferente forma. Así que yo hasta enferma estoy con eso. Nunca había tenido un trabajo. Había trabajado en otros lugares más pequeños y nunca me trataron como me han tratado en la Universidad de Mérida.
Because of this experience, I've gotten sick. I spent 7 months under this harassment and this discrimination, and because of this, my blood pressure was going up, and I've suffered a number of illnesses. And I've worked in a number of places, but nowhere had I ever been treated the way I've been treated at the University of Maryland.
Ustedes pueden ver que aquí no hay latinas. ¿Por qué? Porque tenemos miedo. A mí me dicen, ¿cómo tú vas a ir? No tienes miedo que te den más trabajo o que te quiten el trabajo.
As you can see, there's no Latinas here today because everyone's scared. And a lot of my coworkers tell me or ask me if I'm not scared to speak out, then I might be given more work.
Ellos tienen una modalidad de que si el trabajador reclama, si el trabajador dice, ¿por qué me están dando más trabajo? ¿Por qué esto? Ellos le ponen más trabajo.
They have a system in which if a worker speaks out, we're given more work.
Yo siento que esto debe de cambiar, porque si a mí me echan por venir y hablar todo lo que yo he hablado, porque incluso hay 2 jefes que no me hablan, porque saben todo lo que yo he hablado acá. Ellos no me hablan. Y si a mí me echan de este trabajo, pero yo les digo a las compañeras que es bueno que esto cambie, porque por los otros que van entrando no tenemos por qué sufrir las humillaciones que dan acá.
I believe that this has to change, and even because I've spoken out, I've had 2 supervisors that no longer speak to me because I decided to speak out. But I told my other coworkers that I think that it's important for us to speak out, at least for those in the future that might come work here, so that they might not endure the same discrimination, harassment.
Reclamar mis derechos. Yo creo, y así es, que como trabajadores tenemos derechos y yo me siento con la obligación de reclamar respeto y mi derecho. Es cierto que soy hispana, pero también tengo derecho por trabajar en la Universidad de Mérida.
And all that because I spoke up to demand my rights. Just because I'm Hispanic does not mean that I don't have rights. I believe that workers have
3 years ago, her supervisor tried to move her from his zone to a different zone just because he didn't like her. But she spoke to the union, so they were able to prevent her from being moved to a different zone.
Aquí en la Universidad de Mérida hay mucha preferencia con muchos supervisores, mucha preferencia. más en los hispanos. No sé en qué está eso, que andan chequear y chequear y chequear solo los hispanos. Para mí tiene que ser normal, tiene que ser igual, pero los hispanos no tienen que hablar con otra persona porque están solo toque y toque. Pueden ver otra persona hablando, que sea de otro color, no importa, pero si es un hispano, ya le llaman la atención y la llaman a la oficina.
So I feel like there's a lot of preferential treatment here at the university. I was constantly harassed by my supervisor, just being checked on constantly, and I feel like that occurs to a lot of the Latino workers, where if they're talking to their coworkers, they're reprimanded or harassed about it, but if other workers are talking amongst each other, they don't get reprimanded in the same fashion.
Ahorita está pasando un problema que hay mucha presión. Quieren que uno saque el trabajo que dice, aquí hay daste. Y es muy apenita, daste. Pasan chuta 2 veces inspección.
Entonces, many times the supervisors are constantly just harassing them and checking, double checking if there's dust on what they just cleaned. If even there's a little bit, they get on them about, it's not clean enough and they want them to keep cleaning it.
Y si falta una persona, siempre le dan este trabajo a uno y quieren que uno siempre haga exactamente el trabajo. Todo lo que haga exactamente el trabajo y con el extra trabajo.
And so if someone doesn't show up to work, the workload is put on us. It's not divided, it's put on us, and we have to do our work as well as the person who didn't come.
Ok, eso era lo que yo quería hablar, que los ayuden, porque aquí hay mucha presión, los supervisores, mucha presión, solo chequear y aumento nada. Si le aumentan un 5 a 1, un 10, en el seguro ya se lo quitan de vuelta a uno. En el seguro ya aumentaron el seguro.
And so I just wanted to share this story with you because there needs to be some kind of pressure on these supervisors, because if they give us a small increase, it's taken out in insurance or in taxes or something.
El año pasado les estaban dando clases de inglés para las personas que no saben inglés, ¿no? No, las quitaron porque no podemos hacer el trabajo. Estando en la escuela no hacemos todo el trabajo, sino que están diciendo, ya estuvo el trabajo, ya hicieron bien el trabajo y lo van a chequear a uno. Como si uno sale temprano, no puede hacer el trabajo completamente. Sí, lo va a dejar que se mire presentable, ¿no? Pero ellos lo quieren perfecto.
So last year we were receiving English classes, but they canceled that for us because they were saying that we weren't doing our work in the correct way. And so she was just saying that they would do their work and it was presentable, it just wasn't perfect. But since it wasn't perfect for them, they said that they could no longer take English classes.
Okay, eso era todo lo que quería hablar.
That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Cuando yo estaba sentada, tenía el café caliente, llegó la supervisora y me dijo, ¿qué tú haces aquí? Yo le dije, yo pedí permiso y me dijeron que me sentara aquí. Te salen de aquí ahora mismo. Me dio varias veces y yo le dije, ¿qué? Y le dije, te vas ahora mismo de este lugar, no quiero que te sientes aquí.
So when as she was drinking a cup of coffee, the supervisor arrived and asked her what was she doing there. And she said she's taking a break, and the supervisor immediately kicked her out, told her, you have to leave this place now, you can't be in here. And she said, what? He said, you have to leave now.
Y yo le contesté, pero yo no soy Pedro, para que tú me estés echando. Te sale ahora. Y yo cogí el café y tranquila, no quería incomodarme. Cuando ya voy afuera, me dice, regrésate, que te quedó el jacket. No te vas a quedar aquí sentada.
So when the lady was kicking her out, she told her, why are you yelling at me? I'm not a dog. If she didn't want to have any more problems, she grabbed a cup of coffee and was walking out. And the supervisor told her, go grab your jacket because you're not going to come back to see her.
Después de eso, pasaron más cosas ese mismo día que para qué decirle, le conté a otra supervisora, me preguntó, se lo digo a la manager, se lo puede decir, no estoy hablando mentira.
Later on in the day, she told someone else she made a complaint. That person spoke to the manager and she said, that's what happened, I'm not lying, that's exactly what happened.
La manager habló conmigo el otro día, fui a trabajar y me dijo que nada, que lo sentía mucho, que I'm sorry, que lo sentía mucho, que eso estuvo mal, pero lo hecho está.
The next day, the manager that received the complaint went and apologized to her, said, I'm sorry that happened, I'm really sorry, but that it already happened and it's done.
Pues nada, a las 8 horas anduve con la señora detrás de mí y hasta hoy yo lo estoy haciendo por todos ustedes porque yo pienso poner mi denuncia en la otra semana.
And she says after that, she's here speaking on behalf of the coworkers here because next week she's planning to put in a resignation to quit.
Porque trabajar así con un acoso todo el tiempo, que no solo yo, todas las muchachas, lo que pasa es que ellas todas tienen miedo.
She said to be working, being harassed is intolerable. She says because they're all being harassed, it's not they're too afraid to speak.
Todas tienen miedo porque piensan que la van a votar. Sabemos que cada cual necesita su trabajo, pero uno no tiene vida. No tiene vida trabajar así.
She says that they know that they're pressed because they have to work and they need a job, but that's no life to be treated that way, working in those conditions.
Bueno, más nada, muchas gracias por escucharme.
See, that's all. Thank you.
I am disgusted by the way the administration has responded to these abuses. If they really took this seriously, they'd be doing things way different. They'd be including workers in the decision-making process instead of operating behind closed doors. They'd be cracking down on managers that are retaliating against workers that are brave enough to speak out instead of turning a blind eye and letting the targeting of whistleblowers continue. They'd be taking immediate and public action instead of appointing another committee to investigate or telling the media that they're looking into it. I'm glad this part is happening because they haven't done these things. They haven't taken meaningful action. They've shown that they're willing to stand idle as workers continue to be abused. What does this mean? It means that appeals to social justice or even basic decency aren't enough to compel them to act. They've shown that they won't take initiative, that they won't act on their own. So how does this forum fit into this? Well, I think that the administration's interest in the situation will only last as long as publicity does. For years, they've had to have known this is happening. They've been aware of these abuses. There's no question about that. But they didn't do anything until now. And what changed? Well, workers realized that they couldn't trust the system. They couldn't trust the university's internal resolutions mechanism to actually resolve these issues. They went public. We went through a peak from the administration if these forums hadn't happened. It just isn't true. Why do they care? Because they're scared. They're scared about the power of community. They're scared about the power of a community campaign. They know that if they're not careful, this is going to blow up. And that's dangerous to them. If there's enough negative publicity that the university's reputation or funding is jeopardized, then they'll start to do something. I mean, there's no question about it.
Training programs like Just Respect is smoke and mirrors so the university can pretend like they're addressing the problem.
Estos programas que tiene la universidad que se llaman Solo Respeto, que supuestamente le dan a los supervisores y a los ingenieros, solamente son una manera de tapar lo que realmente está ocurriendo en la universidad.
A supervisor or manager who's so pathetic that he would use the language or bully and do the things that we've been hearing about for months now.
El supervisor que sea tan ridículo y patético que vaya a usar las palabras que hemos escuchado de varios trabajadores.
Doesn't need a training program, they need to be fired.
I'm working with the women to help them be able to deal with some of the abuses that they're going through, to help them deal with some of the stress-related issues. A lot of them have shared with me that they have developed high blood pressure, diabetes, tremendous stress-related illnesses. The stories that I've heard so far have been just absolutely horrific. They're not stories that I haven't heard before in my career, but to think that the university here is being extremely discriminatory against these women because a lot of them don't speak English. I have a lot of experience, obviously, working with the Latino community. I recently moved here from Arizona, where I was working with a lot of, you know what's going on in Arizona, I don't have to tell you guys. I live here. And just a few more points I'd like to make. First of all, we need to have more women join the group because this is a great opportunity for the women, the housekeepers, who are basically not allowed to even speak to each other, to say hola to each other when they see each other in the work environment. their supervisors make a point of keeping them separate because having them have an opportunity to eat lunch together, have a break together, is very threatening to them. Go ahead. And I would implore all of you, not only the Latina mujeres, but all of the other women because we're dealing with some sexual abuse issues, unfortunately we can't invite hombres, men to come to the group. However, I think just listening to all of the stories from the men, we need to think about starting Minty. And finally, I know that from the women, and I certainly appreciate some of you are here tonight, I appreciate your being so brave to come up here and speak about some of the issues that you're dealing with, and also to be in the group. You've shared with me time after time when we meet how other women are afraid. Their miedo, I mean the fear is so great and it's so extreme. They're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of more retaliation from their supervisors if they join the group. But what I would like to explain to you guys is I'm not even employed by the university. I'm doing this to volunteer my time because I'm so passionate personally about the plight of the women and what we're going through that, my heart just goes out to you all. And because I have the gifts to do this kind of work, I feel that I should do it. And that's my personal feeling, and I really, really would like for some more of you women to join the group. You don't all have to be Latina. It just happens that the women in the group. we're going to hablar español and los grupos. Also, we speak to give them an opportunity.
Please state your name and how you've been involved in the Justice at Maryland Coalition.
Hello, my name is Victoria Freeman, and my involvement in the Justice Coalition is as a group facilitator for some of the domestic workers that work here at the university. The reason I got involved with this program is because when I heard of some of the things that were happening in terms of how these women were being mistreated and some of the abuse that was going on, some of the verbal abuse, some of the mistreatment in terms of their work environment, overworking, and just basically total mistreatment at the workplace, I became very concerned. As a psychotherapist and group facilitator for many years myself in different situations, and my area of specialization being working with abuse victims, I felt that I could volunteer my services in any way I could. So we established this support group for the women, and we're trying to get more women involved because this is such an incredible injustice, and what I'm hearing from the women that I've been working with in the group so far is that a lot of the other women are afraid. I have a lot of women who, in the group who, cross racial divides. We have Hispanics, African Americans, and we're trying to get more people involved. We run the group in English and also in Espanol. We have some of the women are saying that getting other women involved is kind of difficult at this point because they're very afraid, miedo. They're afraid to come forward and talk about the abuses they're suffering, talk about what's going on in the workplace because for fear of their jobs. But they are saying to me repeatedly they are being treated mismo de perros, like dogs. They're being yelled at, they're being screamed at, they're being mistreated, they're being so abused in the workplace that it just breaks my heart to hear these stories. And I just want to try to do whatever I can to help alleviate the stress and anxiety that these women are facing as they go to work. No one should have to face this kind of mistreatment in a job. They're trying to do a job. They're trying to do the best they can. They are being treated like they say to me that they are expected to work like machines. To be yelled at your workplace, for the supervisors to treat them like dogs is so incredibly unfair. So, as I said, my involvement is basically as a group facilitator. I try to facilitate the groups to have everyone talk about what's going on, how they can feel better about what they're doing, how they can speak up, how to encourage them, to empower them,
to be able to handle this, to be able to deal with it, to talk to other people, to know that they're not the only ones experiencing this kind of abuse. Anyway, that's basically it. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and I hopefully, look forward to more people joining the group, because I think it is a viable alternative to having them just go home and just be stressed out and have anxiety about their jobs. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So from all the toxic drama and from all those cases of the people that I've been trying to help out, I ended up in the hospital at 36 with fluid and clots in my lungs, fluid around my heart, and a 25% functioning heart rate, or functioning heart. And I was told that if there was anyone I needed to contact or tell anybody to, that I needed to pick up the phone now and call them.
A los 36 años, puesto de todo lo que ha pasado, todo este estrés, terminé en la sala de emergencia y me decían que tenía flu, tenía coágulos en mis pulmones, y que si había alguien que yo quería llamar, en ese momento debería llamarlo.
Came back to work eventually after 8 weeks in ICU, and 3 heart surgeries. And was fired because of my health and inability to do my job.
Después de 8 semanas volví al trabajo, después de 8 semanas, después de 3 cirugías de corazón, y cuando llegué al trabajo me despidieron por no poder hacer el trabajo por mi enfermedad.
In the HR field, I know.
En el área de recursos humanos.
They had the ability, since it was a new year, to offer me FMLA again for the new year to try and start. They also had the opportunity to let me resign. And last of all, they had the opportunity to send me on a medical review board if they thought something was being made up or was not true.
Ellos tenían la posibilidad de dejarme comenzar un año nuevo, tenían la posibilidad de dejarme resignar, o tenían la posibilidad de pedir una investigación para saber si mi enfermedad realmente era legítima o si era algo falso.
They chose none of those options. But until recently, the one thing that I realized is that curse is a blessing. Because now I am actually able to help out ASME 1072, which is the local union here, and to make sure the people that are getting dumped on have a way to fight back.
Eso fue lo que
sit in the office, I sit upstairs and have to and meet with countless women. Day after day, since the 27th, coming in my office, women old enough to be my mother, and breaking down and crying. Black women, Latina women, breaking down and crying based on what is happening to them. People sustaining on-job injuries that are prevented from going and getting those injuries taken care of. People getting sexually abused, still being retaliated, being sent to another zone because they spoke out and being alienated. This has been going on. And so we have to look at it as a crisis, because I ask you, come on, man. You know who you are in this room. You know who you are. I ask you, if it was your wife, if it was your husband, if it was your daughter that was going through this, you would be livid, and it would have to be something that would have to be taken care of yesterday. That's the only way we need to look at this.
Take your name and affiliation with the university.
My name is Don Mitchell, and I'm an HVAC mechanic 2 with residential facilities. I've been on campus about 14 years now, and even though my title is HVAC, I started here as an electrician, and I'm a master electrician, and I segued into the HVAC trade because there's a lot of solid-state electronic controls involved.
What types of abuses have you observed or encountered yourself while working for the University of Maryland?
The most general complaint that I've seen and experienced, and it's why I underline that I'm a master electrician, is even in the skilled trades, many of the supervisors and managers aren't experts at the very trade they manage, and they will speak with that, disrespectfully and contemptuously, even to skilled people. And they treat you with an authoritarian manner. Even though you're the skilled person, it's my way or the highway. And if they're doing something wrong, and you dare suggest there's a better, safer, or code-required way, you're going to pay for it one way or another, because the management here is, to put it mildly, dysfunctional and toxic. And another thing that I've seen, and it's an issue that I brought up early on in my, when I started here, within the first year, we have a practice of using what are known as contingent workers, because during the long winter break and the long summer break, they would actually have to do without paychecks. So my department does try to do the right thing by offering them a way to make some money during the breaks. However, it's part of what started me getting escalated and more involved in this was we had 2 African student assistants, and my supervisor was actually mocking their names because they weren't John or Joe or Henry, and just clearly berating them in front of our workers in the staff meeting. And when I complained to cut to the chase, I complained about that to our human resources department, and they immediately did what they do: cover up, whitewash, he didn't mean it, he was just joking, and they turn it around. When I complained about the way I saw these students treated, I was told I'm too sensitive by our human resources department. So these are just a few of the things that led to me more and more getting involved, because I could clearly see our HR department, whether it's in your local department or even all the way up to the Chesapeake building, is merely doing public relations for dysfunctional, toxic management. And I guess a final thing I'd like to mention is my personal experience. The worst thing that I've ever seen here was during, I believe it was the year 2009, 2010, that endless series of blizzards that we had. We were required to work in brutal conditions and yelled at. We had a policy of taking breaks, and if you wanted to take a break from working at 5 in the morning in 12-degree weather in 35-mile-an-hour winds, and we took a break, our assistant director, Terry Perkins, was screaming and yelling and cursing at people. You were taking a break rightfully and for health and safety reasons, and you got him screaming at you. And again, when these issues were brought up, we just got the runaround from HR. Absolutely nothing was done about that.
Thank you.
September 2009, my father was dying of cancer, and I notified my supervisor maybe a month ahead of time that my father was real sick. And I got a phone call from my aunt, and she told me that I need to be at the hospital, and this was on September 28th of 2009. My father passed September 30th. Maybe a month after that, I got called to the office, and I was written up on my PRD. And that day when I left, my supervisor, she wrote up that I left unexcused after I had told her that I had to leave the hospital because my father was real sick. And she held that against me. She wrote it down in my PRD, and she put it down in red ink. And I really took it to heart. I didn't know what to do during that time, but you know, I said if I continue to just sit around and don't say nothing, you know, I'm just letting her run over me like that. And she just totally disrespect my father. You know, and that's why I'm here today to just discuss this residential facility, this management. They don't care nothing about the employees. They don't care nothing about your family. It's like you don't have a life at all. My daughter, she had reconstruction on her ear in 2009 at the same time, maybe a couple of months before my father passed away. I notified my supervisor and let her know this maybe a month ahead of time. I called out to tell her that I had to be by my daughter's bedside because after she had an operation, of course, someone had to be with her. She was around, maybe during that time, 7 years old. My supervisor, she written me up for that. She told me I didn't use my leave the appropriate way. And it's just, I just don't understand, you know. It's hard. It's hard. It's something to go through. You know, it's like they want to strip you of your manhood, your womanhood here in this department, and it's not fair, and it's not right at all. That's all I can say.
Can you please tell me your name and how long you've been working for the University of Maryland?
Ralph Hammy. I've been working for the University of Maryland over 13 years, 4 in housekeeping and 8 in food service.
When you've been working at the University of Maryland, what abuses have you yourself witnessed or faced yourself?
Actually, verbal abuse with me, as far as my wife just recently had surgery. I was just sent through all kind of chains of commands, and had to speak to over 3 different people. Just basically, it was like they almost didn't want me to go. You know, I had to put up a fight to go to my own wife's surgery, and I needed to bring in all this paperwork and things like that. And 3 different occasions. Actually, I was wrote up on when my father passed away. They put something in my attendance sheet, and it was actually against me, saying that I was taking too many days off. And that particular day when my father passed, that was also in there. And my daughter had an operation, and I was saying something about that as well. So it's like 3 different things. I can go on and on, but.
So do you think the administration has been a source of support for the workers, or do you think they've done a good job of protecting workers from these types of abuse?
No, could you repeat that one again?
Do you think that the university administration has done a good job at being a support for the workers and protecting them from abuse?
No, they haven't. You saying administration?
Yes.
No.
Could you elaborate on that?
Like I just said, such as I know many people of my colleagues, family had to go do surgery, they had to take days off, and they was allowed, they couldn't. So that's one of the reasons right there.
And for those in the university's community, the staff, the students, the workers, why do you think this is an important issue to everyone?
It's just because we're human, you know. The facilities management treat us housekeepers like dogs. It's really important because we're human beings and we have family. You know, if my child had to go to the doctor, I shouldn't have to go through the 3rd degree and be questioned about that. I think it's really important.
I've been doubting my own abilities because of the way the boss treats me. And I've done a lot of research, and what really, really shocked me and stood out is that a lot of bullies don't know that they're being bullies. They think they're just being good managers, which is another reason why I think they need a lot better training.
he llegado hasta el punto de que me he cuestionado mi propio trabajo y estaba yo investigando y me he dado cuenta de que mucha gente que sigue abusando, ellos no saben que están siendo esa persona que abusa, y creo que con un entrenamiento podría mejorar eso.
I'll try to make it brief. As my boss does a lot of micromanaging, and that's really, really, really difficult. She's into everything I do. And everything that she sends me an email has high priority, that this has to be done above and beyond everything that I do for everybody else, because I work for, well, there's about close to 50 people in my department, so I do stuff for everybody. And everything that she sends to me, you got to do this now, she doesn't even want to know what my workload is. In addition to that, I've been given additional responsibilities when they had the hiring freeze and somebody retired. Nobody took those responsibilities back, and I keep getting more added on with no more pay.
Me siguen asignando más trabajos, mi supervisor me asigna trabajo, no se preocupa cuánto trabajo yo tengo, todo lo que me asignan que es de alta prioridad. Incluso cuando ya se pararon de contratar más personas, pidieron personal, me dieron el trabajo que sobraba y creen que lo puedo hacer todo.
I've requested overtime because I'm willing and able and really desire to do my job completely and well. I've been refused on multiple occasions. No, you can't do it. We've had promotions within our office, even though there's been some kind of crisis. I see money being spent right and left, and it's not being spent on our salaries, obviously. We don't want to step up because we're afraid of repercussions, and if I even couldn't get a mediation because she's allowed to say she doesn't want to participate, what recourse do I have?
He pedido que me horas adicionales para poder trabajar eso.
If I worked on my lunch or whatever, they were happy with it until it was brought to my attention that they were not paying me right, and they found a quick way to get rid of me. They looked through my timesheets and, oops, 2 mistakes. 6.5 years, you gotta go. And that's what I got. And interesting enough, my supervisor often did my timesheets for me, approved them, and docked me a pay that I wasn't supposed to be docked by inappropriately putting in my time, but yet I put in those entries. And, if they didn't trust me, they still had me distributing cash, distributing paychecks, but they didn't trust me.
Ella decía de que
I also want to say what triggered the whole thing is my supervisor. She went online and made a transaction that credited my debit card and refused to give me the information in a timely manner. So I went according to policy and reported everything after making several attempts to get documentation from her, which would have resulted in my being terminated. And so, in retaliation, they terminated me for timesheet errors. So I'm concerned about the people in my department who are also constantly being bullied, and a lot of people have left the department because of the bullying, and I just hope something is done about it, and that management will have some type of disciplinary action taken against them.
Good afternoon, my name is Ralph Hamby. I'm an employee at housekeeping for residential facilities. I'm going to just make this short. This upper staff and upper management we're working with at our residential facility, they don't care nothing about your family, they don't care nothing about your household and your livelihood here. I just had a situation when my wife had to have a surgery, and I believe it was the month of December. And to make a long story short, this management tried to do all they can to not give me the actual time that I had to be home with my wife and to get her aid. They gave me so much runaround. And I just want to say, if you don't stand up and fight, they will take advantage of you. So with this being said, I mean, you just got to fight, because this management, they cares nothing about you. All they want you to do is come in here and get this work done, and that's it. You're really nothing to them.
What Solomon said, earlier, as far as retaliation, I spoke out. I spoke to the reporter. I gave the reporter my name, and I'm telling you, I'm emailing I'm like this, and I stood here on April 27th, just like I'm looking at Dr. Z. I looked at Frank Brewer and told him I was not afraid. And I'm telling you, you can put it in the paper, spies, whoever you are. I'm not afraid. I am not afraid.
My name is Ronald Ziegler. And I serve as a senior advisor to the Black Faculty and Staff Association, and my official title is director of the Brewer Cultural Center.
Why do you support the Justice at Maryland Coalition?
The cause is one of grave concern to me as a staff person who's been employed on this campus for more than 30 years, and the workers here at the University of Maryland are part of the campus community, which comprises students, faculty, staff, and the workers make tremendous contributions in terms of the quality of life on this campus, in terms of serving students, in terms of beautifying the campus, in terms of keeping the campus in a state in which it's presentable to the public and to the community. And they should be supported in terms of their concerns that they have in terms of treatment.
Do you feel that the university is doing enough to support the workers?
That's a question, I guess. I don't know if you view the glass half full or half empty. The Black faculty and staff has gone to the president of the campus, and there have been some movement, but in my own personal opinion, I think there could be more, and that there should be more. There have been several forums that we've had, but in terms of the administration acknowledging that there is a problem, you know, there was a 56-page report that was presented, and the responses to the report is, in my opinion, has not been as gratifying, and it hasn't been, I guess what I'm looking for, pleasing, or just in terms of showing support, that acknowledging that there is a problem, you know, for these workers and trying to address those problems that exist.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Please state your name and your affiliation with the university.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Sorillo, and I'm a sophomore here at the campus.
Why do you support the Justice at Maryland Coalition?
Well, looking at back where my mom was basically working at Blakehurst and looking at the abuse that happened with her, I felt compelled really helping out the Black and Latino workers on campus here, because as a woman of color, I feel as though that I'm more motivated to understand that they have rights just as much as us, and that because they're not getting what they deserve as far as being people of the U.S., I feel as though that we definitely need to give them back their rights and give them back the justice they really need to deserve.
Thank you. Can you tell me your name and how you are affiliated with the university?
Yeah, my name is Tim Baldoff-Lenshin. And I'm a sophomore at the University of Maryland right now, undergraduate student and a public health major.
And how long have you been involved with the Justice at Maryland Coalition?
This is now my second semester, so about half a year, a bit over half a year.
And why do you support the coalition?
There's a lot of reasons why I support the coalition. First off, because I think that human rights violations should be focused on by everyone. If there's a human rights violation going on anywhere, whether it's on the other side of the world or right here on our campus, we should be aware of it and trying to do something about it. And that's one of the main things that's happening right now with the Justice at Maryland movement, is there are human rights violations going on. There's sexual abuse, racial abuse, and verbal abuse going on. And on top of that, some of these workers have been at the university for 20 to 30 years and haven't even had the opportunity to have a promotion. So they're working the same wages, and their supervisor would rather fire them and hire someone else for the same low wage than give them opportunities to grow and work themselves up the ladder. So those are just the human rights issues. Then it's like, without these workers on our campus, this campus wouldn't even run. You know what I mean? These are the workers that make the campus what it is today, and if we keep basically paying the supervisor through our tuition, that are doing these abuses, then all of us are part of the problem unless we step up and decide to do something against it. So I've made that decision, and I know that my tuition is going to be paying for supervisors too, and because I'm not okay with that, that's why I'm involved with Justice at Maryland.
Thank you. Please tell us your name and your job title here at the University of Maryland.
Yes, my name is Brandon Dula, and I'm an assistant director for the STAMP Multicultural Union, Multicultural Involvement and Community Advocacy Office, and I also serve as the Black Faculty and Staff Association Vice President.
Can you tell us what capacity you were involved in the Justice at Maryland movement?
I have been an advocate along with others on the BSA Executive Board and the BFSA in general, and I think along with actually a lot of other staff members on campus and faculty members and students, we're just advocating for, I guess, basic rights and safety of workers who are employed by the university.
And why do you think this issue is important to everyone in this community?
Well, I think we want to live up to our commitments as a university from a standpoint of being a top 2010 public university, and I think it's important that we exemplify the same things that we're trying to teach our students. And so none of us would have students treated unfairly, and it should be the same way for workers.
Please state your name and your affiliation with the university.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Zane Adam. I'm a junior here at University of Maryland, and my major is in general communications. My affiliation, or the topic that I'll be covering today, is the workers' rights. And originally, I'm a part of the Student Government Association, but I also am involved at a grassroots level with members of the Nimburu Cultural Center and other students on campus. I originally heard about this workers' rights issues and inhumanities being performed through my involvement through the grassroots organizations, but being a member of Student Government Association, I felt it was my duty to extend this information and this current situation to people in another setting and at what you would say another level. Therefore, I originally set out to write I did actually set out to write a resolution to, one, raise the awareness, and to recommend that the administration seriously take into or look into the matters that are affecting our non-exempt workers and workers of minority status here at the University of Maryland. That bill did pass 27-0 on the night that I presented it to the rest of the student government legislature. That 27-0 I thought would at least antagonize the administration or get Diamondback coverage to raise the awareness and bring this workers' movement or this JAM Coalition movement to the forefront. However, the Diamondback did not cover it. And even though students are more aware in the Student Government Association, there's still work that has to be done. So currently, my intention or my present situation in the student government is to keep inviting people out to the forums that are, well, first of all, next Friday, March 9th. I invited people out, and we need to just continue the process. And I guess that's where I'll start off.
Why do you support the JAM Coalition? Why is this important to everyone on campus?
First and foremost, this is, I feel, important to everyone on campus because these people are members of our community. These are human beings, and everybody deserves basic human rights. But as for the stories, as for the situations that many of these workers are going through, it's very inhumane. So I took this up because, one, I'm a student of color, and I honestly feel sometimes out of place with regards to the university and overall. So when it's women of color specifically that are being sexually abused, discriminated against, and just treated with disrespect, I felt an obligation to stand in solidarity with these workers. And honestly, if it's not going to come from the top levels of the university, then we definitely need to start with the people who are on the ground making this university what it is.
Thank you. Can you tell me your name and how you're affiliated with the university?
My name is Modesta Agua-Maple. I'm a sophomore here, and I'm a sociology major.
How long have you been involved with the Justice at Maryland Coalition?
I've been involved with JAM for a semester now. I've attended one of the forums and been going to the meetings.
Why do you support the Justice at Maryland Coalition?
I support the coalition because there's just so many things that's wrong with the university, and one of the main issues is how the university is treating the campus workers. These campus workers are the backbone of our university. They make it what it is. And the fact that they're being sexually assaulted and abused right under our noses is just like, it's not okay. And like, tuition is already expensive enough, and the fact that we are basically part of the problem that has these campus workers afraid to go to work and basically being mistreated because of the position they hold in this university, like, it's not okay. And I feel that as students, we definitely need to speak up for these workers. And I think it's really important for us to unite and really understand the things that are going on this campus.
Thank you. Please state your name and organization.
My name is Solomon Kamajan, and I am the president of the Black Faculty and Staff Association on the campus of University of Maryland College Park. I'm also the assistant director for the Niamburu Cultural Center.
How has your organization been involved in the Justice at Maryland Coalition?
Since 2010, when our present administration, our present executive board for BFSA was elected and we came into office, we immediately were met with a cavalcade, this procession of employees on campus, most of which at that time were African American, who came into my office with a range of grievances, and then those grievances, became, these horrific nightmares that women were coming in. Because initially it was some male employees, some black male employees that came in that spoke of discrimination, being called boy, being called nigger, these kind of things. And then, started to have African American housekeepers and custodial staff come in with similar grievances. And I didn't want to say grievances, but just mistreatment, abuses. That's verbal degradation. And then Latina employees started to come into my office and to other folks' offices, and they spoke of the sexual abuse and sexual assault that had been levied upon them, the xenophobia that had been levied upon them by some of their supervisors, and being called spick, and the African Americans being called nigger, having keys thrown on the ground, people telling the Spanish-speaking workers that you're in America, if you speak Spanish, I'm going to ostracize, I'm going to put you in another zone where you're not going to have any Spanish-speaking workers around you, and if they are, I'm going to make sure that they don't talk to you. These kind of things, and these kind of things started to surface once the Black Faculty and Staff Association, because once they started to come in, I brought it to my executive board, and we had some really constructive conversations about it, and we decided, let's go ahead and let's put together some forms. So we put together a couple forms. At the time, the first two forms were supported by facilities management, and they were highly successful. And I think because they were so successful, they weren't supported anymore because BFSA sponsored 4 forms. Since then, there have been about 7 forms that have been put together by the Justice at Maryland Coalition. The last 3 put together by the Justice at Maryland Coalition. The first 4 with BFSA, and these forums, people started to come and they were speaking out. People, men and women, would break down and cry on the microphone. Really like heart-wrenching stuff, and also infuriating stuff. Stuff that made you, if you love human beings, that you just became angered because this shouldn't be happening. And one of the other things I should mention that we did, BFSA, we put together, we did a survey that was administered in English and Spanish to workers across the board, and we used the data from that survey to compile a 56-page qualitative and quantitative report detailing workplace abuses, mistreatment, And so that report was then delivered to the upper administration on May 27th of 2010 to President Wallace Lowe, who's the president of the University of Maryland, as well as his cabinet. Gave it to them, and we didn't hear anything back from them for several months. Checked back in, didn't hear anything concrete back from them. And so that's when, you know, we decided we have to go ahead and move this, you know, keep moving this forward and pushing this forward. And by that time, we had students who were concerned that got involved, community members, alumni that had gotten involved and say, hey, we want to do something, because we had put out a press release and we listed 5 concrete demands, you know, / recommendations to the university's upper administrators that said, these are things that we feel that you could deliver literally yesterday. So therefore we believe that they could be delivered just like that. Easy things like making sure there's an end to a complete end to retaliation, making sure there's a zero tolerance policy established, that workers were able to engage in professional development opportunities, no matter how high or low they are on the so-called quote-unquote totem pole. You know, these are the kind of things that we put forward on these recommendations. And so here we have ourselves now, 2012, and as a coalition, it's now called the Justice at Maryland Coalition, that comprises the union, ASME, Local 1072, which has been doing some amazing work for decades on this campus, students, some faculty members, community, alumni who have come together, and I'll end on this, who have come together to not just put together forms, but they have put together, students are going out and doing AM crews. They go out and they check on these workers at 4 o'clock in the morning, students getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going to different zones to assure that these workers that are getting dropped off at that time, that they are working in a safe environment. We started to work with the police department to try to expand, but they need, you know, additional resources to expand the coverage in terms of these areas, these key areas where women particularly feel vulnerable. We have a therapy session where we have a trained therapist from the community that volunteered her time, and she comes in on a bi-weekly basis, and she sits down and she meets privately in a room that we provide with women who have been abused sexually and otherwise, and goes through a therapy session that's private. So these are things that we believe that the university should be providing, but since we didn't get the responses that we wanted in a timely manner, we went ahead and while we're fighting and trying to pressure the university to do the right thing, we decided to go ahead and try to provide, you know, some alleviation to some of these things that they're going through right away. And we're still going to continue to fight on, but in the meantime, as we fight on, we're going to provide these workers with as much relief and alleviation from these abuses and mistreatments as we possibly can. And so I'm just really proud of the students and the community and everyone that's come on to put their hands together, including yourself, students like yourself, that really want to make a difference. And the last thing I'll say is that when I say we became impatient, and that's why we went ahead as a coalition to put these things together, is because when it comes to abuses and discrimination, sexism, misogyny, you can't be patient. There is no such thing as being patient. You have to be as impatient as possible. They have to be ended ASAP, and that's why, as a coalition, we all came together and are fighting this most noble fight. It's a fight of human rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Into this town hall forum. Here, workers on campus are offered a free space to voice their grievances and whatever that's on their mind. Workers at this campus, University of Maryland, have long endured in silence the atrocities that their supervisors and upper management have directed at them. The University of Maryland is living truth to its legacy of once being a slave plantation. Working people on this campus, they have been abused sexually, verbally, racially, and there are xenophobia can practice against them. And this campus, this toxic campus, is a breeding ground for all that is corrupt in our wider society. People are treated as subhumans. And a workplace that is filled with fear and anxiety is unacceptable. We should do everything in our power to fight workers' abuse on this campus. We know for a fact that President Lowe and his administration are not interested in the daily violence, and I'm calling it violence because what is going on this campus is nothing short of violence, and they do not care. So it is up to us to bring that struggle to light and beyond the campus of Maryland. Workers' rights, they are human rights. They are natural rights. And we are here to fight for justice and human rights. This is our time. We have to act. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that opening statement, Nisa. I want to welcome everyone that came out today. I want to start with the students that can make it out. If this is your first time, I hope that you get a better idea of some of the hell that some of these workers are going through on a daily basis on our campus. I want to welcome the workers that made it out today. This is the event that we're having for you, and we continue to be amazed by your courage and your resolve when it comes to speaking up against the injustices that are being committed against you, like I said, on a daily basis. And I appreciate that you could make it out today. Also, I want to welcome those community members who may not be students or workers, who have come here because they know that this is a human rights issue, and that no matter who you are, if you know that injustice is going on anywhere, like Martin Luther King said, it's a threat to injustice everywhere. And when you realize that, that's when you start building up solidarity for all humans that injustice is being committed against. I also want to thank the Numburu staff who's made hosting this meeting possible today in this room. Solomon Kamajan, the president of the BFSA, and also Dr. Ziegler, who is the head of this Freedom House, which is the translation for Numburu, in which we're sitting in today. I just quickly want to explain the situation for those of you who don't yet know how our workers are being abused at the moment. We have seen everything from rape threats, where supervisors have held a condom in workers' faces and said that they will use this on them, and we've seen examples of xenophobia, where workers have thrown keys on the ground and treated workers like animals, telling them to fetch the keys, pick them up, and go back to where they came from, because they basically have no respect for these workers at all and treating them as if they're not even humans. We have seen examples of racial discrimination, where workers have been called the N-word, where workers have been psychologically abused. And like Nisa was saying, this is an example of violence, and this violence has to be stopped. I will always be the first one to advocate stopping this violence in a non-violent way, but we will do so continually, and we will never, I repeat, we will never stop fighting for these workers until our demands that you can see up on the board here are met. And we will, if it takes forum after forum, it doesn't matter. We will continue fighting for these workers and standing up for them, because their voices are trying to be silenced by the university administration continually, and it's up to us, the people sitting in this room, to be their voice and to speak up. Your tuition is paying for the abuse of these workers. If you are a human being, then out of pure human solidarity, you should be standing up for these workers as a human rights, because of a human rights issue. This is not something that you can just choose to ignore, and if you do, you become part of the problem. Because if you don't stand up for these workers, you are enabling this abuse to continue, because now you know, now you have the information that these workers are being abused. and you can choose what to do with that information. You can either ignore it and continue to be part of the problem, or you can stand and fight with us until our demands are met. We have to increase the pressure on the university administration and try to get back publicity out. So in order to do that, this coming Monday at 4 p.m., we're having a mass protest in front of the administration building, and I encourage all of you to come out for that. It doesn't matter if you might have to skip a class or whatever. What we're talking about here is human rights issues and physical, verbal, and sexual abuse. And if that's not a reason to skip one class, then I don't know what is. We are going to let President Lowe know what it's like to feel uncomfortable in the workplace. We will keep fighting and keep standing for justice and never let anyone or anything hold us back. Thank you all for coming out tonight, and I look forward to fighting by your side in the future.
We gotta stand for justice, globally and locally. Toxic work environments, that's not how it's supposed to be. We chose to mobilize so we could expose the scene. 56-page report made for Dr. Lotusy. How come when I ask him about it, he tries not to notice me? Turns his back and walks away, lying to us openly. This is not somewhere I could choose to go for free. We're all funding this abuse, no longer unknowingly. Rape threats, racism, and discrimination. That's the type of stuff we've seen on several occasions. Hospitalization, co-retaliation. This is not a college, it's more like a plantation. That's why we fight, why we struggle, why we man up. Refuse to live on our knees, that's why we stand up. We will never be stopped till our demands shut down this abuse for good. They can't withstand us.
Stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. Stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand.
It's not about man up, we got a woman up too. Standing for these ladies and speak up for what is true. We won't back down, we won't settle. Cause when we unite, we're tougher than metal. Abuse justified cause they speak different tongues. They bring havoc, it don't matter if you're old or young. It shouldn't matter where we reside. Yet these workers are still being pushed aside. Exploitation breeds profit, yeah I get the gist. But all this abuse only gets me pissed. If you don't know how it feels to be dehumanized, you'll see the agony tear through their eyes.
Stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand.
As the day proceeds, many are blinded by short-sightedness and personal needs. But every day the campus gleaming, hedges trimmed, grass cut, and all the trash is taken and stuff. But we unaware the workers who do more than enough. Serve your food and clean your dorms, give a service to us. If we ain't have a man, the campus would be shit out of luck. That's why appreciation needed, cause the treatment is rough. But as we delve into the issues that be facing us, racism, discrimination, that only the faces us. If we're truly a community that's open and accepting, then we should stand with workers and treat them with more respect. But analyze everything that was spoke. Change lives within this like a fucking float. In the middle of the rapids, saving all the drowning victims in our system that's fucking twisted.
Stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand.
Try not to think, but sink deep into this moment. Within the difficulties, opportunity is golden. This is our chance to make the doors open. And the beats on campus just gotta be more outspoken. Fear is floating in the minds of the mistreated, but our love is the way it will be defeated. 56-page report, did Low even read it? The past ain't deleted, don't let it be repeated. Just spread the word so the cause can get heated. It's the fire of knowledge, so go ahead and feed it. Do it for humanity, we all really need it. So I'ma keep keep pushing until all the workers feel it. Without them, this school will break down on its knees. Direct quote from Solomon, what else do you need? We all have the right to life and right to be free. Don't pay administration to continue this evil deed.
Stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand. So stand with me, stand.
Hey, shout out to facilities management. Shout out housekeeping. I love y'all.